which Kirk Douglas drove this car and crashed it at Monaco. But Moss, Stirling Moss, was the young hot shoe in the team. This was actually the first car he was ever paid to race, because before that it had only been his own.
So I have with me Simon Taylor, a very old friend. We go back to the 1970s, Simon, which is remarkable.
We do, when we were both struggling young journalists on Autosports a long time ago.
Absolutely. But the wonderful HWM Stovebolt Special, you've had it for 25 years. HWM from the early 1950s. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, it was built in 1950 as a works Formula 2 car by HWM. What they did in those days was try to have the same car eligible for Formula 2 and sports car racing, which is why it's got an offset driving position and a sort of passenger seat. But it was a successful car in its day. HWM were racing on a tiny budget. They went all over Europe, racing against, in those days, works Ferraris in Formula 2 and a lot of other very quick machinery. But Moss, Stirling Moss, was the young hot shoe in the team. This was actually the first car he was ever paid to race, because before that it had only been his own little Coopers. And he was astonishingly quick, bearing in mind that the car had very much less power than the Ferraris, and of course was run on an absolute shoestring. I mean, this car was built with standard 12 saloon front suspension. It was all very basic, but
And run on a glider fuel budget.
absolutely. But on in the Naples Grand Prix, which was an international Formula 2 race around a park in Naples, Moss was leading the Ferraris when a back marker moved across on him, and the spinner of the left rear wheel of the car he was lapping punctured his right front wheel, and he went into a tree. And that was the first bad accident of his career. The car was mended, put into sports car form with the mudguards and lights and so on, and was sold to Switzerland, and then by a circuitous route made its way to Hollywood to appear in a wonderfully bad Hollywood motor racing film called The Racers, in which Kirk Douglas, who was the hero of the film, drove this car and crashed it at Monaco, although the crash was actually staged at Monaco with John Fitch in the driving seat, and then the rest of it was done with models and balsa wood and so on. But after the car had been apparently crashed in the film, a West Coast racer who'd had a lot of success with Allards, called Tom Carstens, wanted to have something that was lighter and smaller and a bit more sophisticated than his Allard J2. So he got on to 20th Century Fox, he bought the car, completely rebuilt it to take the Chevrolet small block engine, and put it together absolutely superbly in his team colours of black, shiny black with white wheels. Which is obviously, although since then the car has been raced all its life, it's been red, it's been blue, it's been white, but obviously we've now got it back in the correct black, and it's pretty much in the same form now that it was raced by Tom Carstens, and particularly by his driver, his hot shoe, Bill Pollack, who had a lot of success in West Coast racing. So really the car has been raced all its life, and when you go from Stirling Moss to Kirk Douglas, and now unfortunately to Simon Taylor, a bit of a come down, but it has got an extraordinary history.
You're famous in your own right, Simon, so in that respect it's in exactly the right place. Thunderous torque, I imagine.
It has got amazing torque. If you look at, we put it on a rolling road, and the torque curve sort of went vertically up from about 500 RPM and then went a straight line across the graph. But the wonderful thing about this car, and this is why I love a sports car with mudguards and a little aero screen rather than a single-seater, is I hate trailers. I think that the whole thing of putting a car in a trailer means that all you get at a hill climb is about 4 minutes in the car. So this car, I don't possess a trailer. This car is always driven to and from the meetings. I've raced it in Australia at Phillip Island, I've raced it at Laguna Seca in California, I've taken it to French hill climbs, and it's always driven on the road. And I think in the 25 years I've owned it, it's probably done about 50,000 road miles just going to and from events. And it's the most wonderful road car because it's quite tractable, it's quite compact, particularly beside modern fat hatchbacks and SUVs.
Yes.
And it's just a joy to drive, and I feel it's kind of part of me, it's part of the family, and I hope I can keep it forever.
Perfect. That's wonderful. Simon, thank you so much.
Not at all.